Most people think this book is about money. It's not. It's about thinking. It's about the gap between the middle class mindset and the world class mindset. I spent the first part of my life thinking like the masses, linear, scared, small. And like the author says, once you change your thinking, the money follows. When you combine world class thinking with a relationship with Allah, Barakah hits different. That's the secret. Today I'm breaking down the top mindset shifts that separate the average thinking from the world class thinking. Let's go. So now we're going to talk about the first lesson, which is the middle class saves and the world class earns. I ain't gonna lie to you, I read this book a year ago, but I went back through it most recently to do the video for this book. What I would have said now is totally completely different what I'm about to tell you today, because it's not just about money. It's about how you think. And the first lesson is the middle class save, the world class earns. The middle class, they think, how do I protect what I already have? The world class thinks, how do I create more by serving more? One operates from fear, the other operates from, in my case, from the perspectives I'm coming from, one operates from Barakah. I got a critical question for you. Are you thinking small or are you thinking big? Let's get on to the next section. So now we're going to talk about the second lesson, which is the middle class thinks linear, the world class thinks nonlinear. Most people connect money to hours. The world class people, they connect money to ideas that align with Allah. Ideas scale, ideas multiply. Impact, it breaks the law of time. I got a critical question for you. Are you thinking about the obvious answer? Or are you thinking about the non-obvious answer? Let's get to lesson 3. So now we're going to talk about lesson 3, which is the middle class worships hard work. The world class worships Allah. If hard work created millionaires, construction workers will rule the world. The real wealthy, they leverage Allah, people, systems, skills, ideas. I honor hard work through my faith, but I'm not just relying on sweat alone. I'm relying on strategy. I got one critical question for you. What perspective or mindset did you have about hard work growing up? So let's go talk about lesson 4. So now we're going to talk about lesson number 4. The middle class thinks money is complicated. The world class thinks money is simple. Money is simple. Trade solutions for dollars. Bigger solution, bigger paycheck. The masses, they overthink. The world class, they execute. I got a critical question for you. Do you think you have what it takes to be impact wealthy? Impact wealthy. I don't know. We'll see though. So now we're going to talk about lesson number 5, which is the middle class works alone. The world class builds teams. When you're paid alone for what you can produce, your value is capped. But when you have a team multiplying your impact, your value is unlimited. Think about it. The masses want recognition. The world class just wants results. And I'll add an extra one. The believer just wants barakah. I got a critical question for you. Are you willing to trade the credit in to have barakah in your wealth? I don't know. We'll see. So now we're going to talk about lesson number 6, which is the middle class thinks emotions, the world class thinks logic. Most people carry around emotional baggage around money. Fear, guilt, scarcity. The world class removes emotion and says, we use this money / dunya as a tool, not as a goal in our heart. If you're not happy now without money, when you get money, you're definitely not going to be happy. I got a critical question for you though. Is your approach emotional or logical? I don't know. We'll see though. So now we're going to talk about lesson number 7, which is the middle class thinks money equals status. The world class thinks money equals freedom. Most people want to look rich. The world class, they want to be free. But here's my twist. The real freedom comes from Allah. Money is only a means, not a source. I got a critical question for you. Do you think money will increase your freedom if you don't have a spiritual grounding? That's really deep to think about. Something you should think about. Let's get to the next one. So now we're going to talk about lesson number 8, right? Which is the middle class thinks more money, more stress. The world class thinks more money, less stress. Most stress comes from lack, late bills, broken systems, job insecurity. One thing is you can increase your earning capability, but that only increases your peace for a split second. The real peace comes from your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I do got a critical question for you. I do believe spiritual wealth will reduce your stress, but it's all up to you. Let's get to the next one. So now we're going to talk about lesson number 9, which is the middle class, they're cynical, the world class, they're optimistic. Cynicism feels safe, but optimism builds empires. World class thinkers, they fail often, but they fail forward. They treat failure like a feedback mechanism. I do got a critical question for you. How optimistic are you, and how much is cynicism costing you? Something you need to think about. So now we're going to talk about lesson number 10, which is the middle class thinks money is negative and the world class thinks money is positive. If you go around and ask people about money, they get all awkward. But if you ask a wealthy person about money, they light up with possibilities. Money in the right hands of a good person is a weapon for impact. And again, if your intentions are for Allah, then the reward is tenfold. Now let's talk about the next lesson. So now we're going to talk about lesson number 11, which is the middle class trust degrees, the world class trust any education that elevates them. The masses think that school is the only path. The wealthy know if it helps me solve a problem, it's education. You got scholars, mentors, courses, experience, whatever grows counts. And I got a critical statement for you. The system wants to keep you thinking that schooling is the only path, when really it's only a sliver of wealth. Now let's go talk about lesson number 12. So now we're going to talk about lesson number 12, which is the middle class earns by effort. The world class earns by thought. The masses think, work harder. The wealthy think better. Creative thinking is the most profitable skill on the planet. I got a critical statement, and I want you to listen. There's a reason why society doesn't want you to think for yourself. Now let's go talk about lesson number 13. So now we're going to talk about lesson number 13, which is the middle class worries about running out. The world class thinks about making more. Fear keeps people stuck. Creative problem solving sets people free. Money flows to solutions. Turn on the faucet. Critical statement for you. When you trust money as an amana, which means trust, and not waste it, Allah will always provide risk. Now we're going to talk about lesson number 14. Let's go. So now we're going to talk about lesson 14, which is the middle class seek pleasure. The world class, they seek purpose plus profit. The masses just want entertainment. The wealthy, they want spiritual knowledge and expansion. When you do what you love and you seek spiritual knowledge, you think about it 24/7. And 24/7 obsession rooted in Barakah equals Isan, which equals excellence. So now we're going to talk about lesson 15. Let's go. So now we're going to talk about lesson number 15, which is the middle class thinks that money is finite. The world class knows that money is infinite. Ideas are infinite. Solve one problem, you get paid once. Solve a huge problem, you're paid forever. Money is replenishable. Purpose and time will never be. I got a critical statement for you though. We have to focus on each day given to us, but we have to operate with an infinite mindset. So let's go talk about 16. So now we're going to talk about the last and final lesson, which is number 16, which is the middle class. They work jobs that they tolerate. The world class, they get rich off doing what they love. Most people survive off a paycheck. The world class, they thrive off worship, passion, and value. If you can worship Allah and solve problems doing what you love, Allah will never allow you to run out of income. I got a critical statement for you. You need to add Allah into your thinking so you can think better and clearer. This book isn't telling you to worship money. It's telling you to elevate your thinking. I'm recommending you combine it with faith, move with courage instead of fear. Allah gives Barakah to those who show up with Nia, Isan, and service. Shift your mindset, and your income, your opportunities, and impact will follow. If you're ready to elevate your thinking, this book is your wake-up call.